guys. Welcome to Game Time with the Goss. I'm your host, Brian Gossett with GM Sports Media. This episode is powered by Grey Roof Promotions. And my guest today is my really good buddy, Chuck Licata, the Texas High School Volleyball Insider. It's volleyball month. It's August. We are just days away from tryouts and the regular season games kicking off, tournaments. It's going to be an exciting month for sure. And Chuck and I are going to run down some of the season previews and teams to watch, districts to watch. But Chuck, thanks for hopping on the show again.
Dude, as always, man, whenever you want to talk volleyball, you can hit me up for sure. Hey, want to pump Big Daddy Media at Big D Media 19 on X. Okay. A lot of volleyball stuff there. We're obviously Olympic volleyball is going on. So we got a little momentum coming into the month with that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Just let's start from the top. 6A. It's a realignment year. We'll start with that. February, the UIL announced realignment for the next 2 years. And so in 6A, there's been some significant shifts, especially in Region 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Starting from the top, District 3, you had the Mansfield schools who come over from Region 2.
Mm-hmm.
Not to make Region 1 any harder now, you had the 3 Mansfield schools. And then kind of most notably, sort of a flip, if you will, with District 5 and District 6. The Planos stay in District 6, but they lose the Louisville schools and Coppell, and instead they get, the Allens and Geyers. And it's a 9-team district now, so I think it's going to be one of the toughest districts in the state. But when you see the new 6A districts, what kind of jumps out at you at first?
Well, I'll go to the ones that you talked about first. In 5A, you talked about, or District 5, I'm sorry. You talked about Louisville going there. You got Flower Mound, who's really going to be, I think they're going to build on what they did last year. They ended up winning district championship last year against Plano East, but I think they're going to be even better this year. Hebron, despite Karen Keeney retiring after 33 amazing years as a volleyball coach, they're just going to pick up right where they left off. Geyer's going to be good. And the rest of that district is pretty good. Over on the flip side, 6 you talked about, they pick up Allen. That's Stephanie Poole. And she's one of those coaches, if you watch her in club, she's one of those coaches that can really coach her players up. So Allen, McKinney Boyd in that district, then the Plano East, Plano West schools, and then you've got Rock Hill in there out of Prosper. That's pretty good. That's a loaded district right there. And that little team from Prosper, which amazingly, she was Ashley McCormick was your coach of the year last year, did an amazing job, got them. They almost eliminated Grand Oaks, which went on to win the state championship. But they've got Tori Witchell now. She's an amazing coach herself. They've got a lot of players back. Yes, Ames isn't there anymore, but they've got plenty coming back. That is a really great competitive district right there for sure. District 4, wow. I mean, Keller, Northwest, which moves up from 5A to 6A. And oh, by the way, Byron Nelson's going to be there. South Lake Carroll, of course, has Kinsley Young, the monster in the middle. Amazing player. And they've got amazing talent. And then just kind of moving on real quick, in District 8, you've got Arlington, Martin, Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie is always up there. And then District 90, you've got all the Garland schools, including Saxe, although they lost a good amount of players last year, then Wiley and Wiley East.
Yeah, it's going to be some interesting matchups there for sure. Like I said, I think District 6 is going to be the best, toughest district in 6A and maybe in the state. When you look at Prosper, who's state semifinalist, you add playoff teams like McKinney and Allen, Plano East, who had that incredible season last year, and then Plano West, who is always near the top in volleyball. And I know they bring back a lot of returners. So only 4 playoff teams. So we're going to see 1 or 2 teams in that district who are deserving of going to the playoffs, and they're going to have to stay home. Yeah, I think another one that I like, obviously District 9 is always the Garland schools. They stick together. There's no change there. I think that's going to be, at least for the most part last year, it was kind of a 3-team race to the district title. Saxe won it on the last regular season game against Wiley East. They've won 11 straight district championships, but Wiley East is right there. Wiley is really coming on. I think they went 12-4 last season, so I kind of expect that one to be down to the wire again. I do like District 10. You had
Mm-hmm.
Forney from 5A, who's, they've won their district a few years in 5A, and now you
Yeah.
join forces with Rockwall. So I think, uh, that's going to be a heck of a matchup between Rockwall and Forney in District 10. And then mentioned District 11 with Mansfield moving out. They bring up Lancaster from 5A. I believe Longview. No, Longview is in District 10 with Forney
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
Rockwall, but in District 11 they add the Mesquite schools from District 10. So that's kind of a wide open district, but really looking forward to it and going to see some great matchups.
Yeah, District 9, 10, and 11 in Region 2 in Class 6A. Actually, keep an eye on them. Obviously, the Indians lost Sandy Fawcett a couple years ago. Thought maybe they'd come back, have a good season. They probably fell a little bit short of their expectations last year. I think they'll rebound this year in 11.
And kind of take a look at DeSoto as well. They got a new coach, Jamie Johnson from Arlington Sam Houston. Uh, I can't think of her name right now, but she was the offensive MVP for that district on DeSoto, so she's back too. So she's got good pieces. Expect DeSoto to be up there in the top two or three spots in 11-6A. But speaking of playoffs, before we kind of jump into 5A and on, but different look for the playoffs. If you're not caught up with it, it's a divisional split. If you're familiar with football, especially Class 6A football, it's going to take that approach. You go down from 7 uh, playoff games to 6 now.
Right.
You get almost double the state championships. We have now 11. Class 1A is going to still be one bracket, but uh,
Right.
no regional tournament, no state tournament. The only thing in Garland at the Caldwell Center will be the state finals. But so the top 4 playoff seeds, and now you go by enrollment size. So the 2 largest enrollment numbers will play in the D1 bracket, and the 2 smaller ones will be D2. So it's gonna be different and take some time to getting used to. But we're probably not gonna see some of those classic playoff showdowns anymore.
Well,
But
one of them would, as we're getting ready to clip top Class 5A real quick, Liberty Hill would not have played Lovejoy in the 5A state championship last year if that had been the case. So,
you know,
it's going to change the landscape. We saw this, I think it was 06 or 07 in football that they did this, Division 1, Division 2. So it's nothing we haven't seen. We just adjusted now to volleyball. The bottom line is, as you said, it's going to kind of get rid of the regional tournaments, and state is only going to be the finals at Garland, which may not be a bad thing because you get a lot of the smaller schools that have great attendance there for the semifinals. Sometimes the larger schools, because it's in the middle of the day, they just can't have parents and whomever attend. So now you get the finals. It's all one big crunch. That should be fun for sure. But you're also going to get high regional and state semifinals in other venues, which that in itself might be fun as well.
uh, yeah, again, 1A is the only one with one bracket because they just don't have enough teams in the state. But 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A will now have 2 brackets and 2 state champs. And then we mentioned no regional tournament, but there's an option if all 4 teams, say in 6A Region 1, they're in the regional semis, which is now, technically the 3rd round. They can
Right.
all, they can all agree on one spot and have their own regional tournament. So that's keep that in mind. But before we jump into 5A, I want to ask you this too. Looking at 6A and all these new districts,
Right.
uh, is there really someone that jumps out and is going to surprise us? Because I kind of look at these districts and it seems like all the teams that won district last season, they're favorites to win district this year.
Yeah, I looked at that as we were talking about doing one of these. Honestly, I think it's going to be one of those years, Goss, where there's going to be a surprise if it happens. Because there's just, you look at that, what's now District 6. the Plano teams, East, West, Prosper, of course, McKinney, Boyd, Allen. That's pretty top heavy right there. You talked about the fact you think that's going to be one of the toughest districts in the state. I love 4A. I think they're right up there. You got Keller, Northwest, and even though Northwest moving from 5 to 6, look at what Jennifer Chandler's done at Northwest the last few years. Just had their libero.
Committed to
Commit to
LSU.
LSU, Kylie Brooks. So she's good, and they did lose Madison Scribner last year, but they got a lot coming back. Byron Nelson, I mean, Bree Growth, I mean, good Lord, they're always good. And oh, by the way, South Lake Carroll with their new coach. I think honestly, as you look run down and you say, okay, what are the pretty much favored teams? I think there's not going to be a surprise, but as you and I know, by the end of district, there's probably going to be one or two surprises.
Yeah. And quick little plug for myself, but gonna do this magazine, DFW magazine,
Yes.
which kind of looks like Dave Campbell's football. Hopefully, we can get that printed out by Monday the 12th, which is the first regular season games, and then that week distribute it. But I will say, I do predictions, rankings, you know, summaries, all that stuff that's in Dave Campbell's as well. But for me, I'll just give you the quick rundown. In District
Sure.
3, I have Mansfield winning district. They're back in Region 1. It's been a few years, but when they were in Region 1, they were really dominant. Boswell's always been up there, at least
Yes.
on this side of the Metroplex. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, Saginaw School District opened a new school, Eagle Mountain, which is 4A, and
Right.
a lot of Boswell's kids went to their team. So we'll see how that affects Coach Lopez's team there. And then Salt Lake Carroll got in District 4. They bring a lot of returners back. I still got Flower Mound and Plano West in District 5 and District 6. We didn't talk about it, but District 7 is going to have a new champ because Highland Park moved down to 5A, which
Right.
I'm sure when those teams found out Highland Park didn't meet the 6A numbers, they were throwing a party.
I
Um,
thought that's what that noise was, that celebration noise up that way.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. But you know what? That's still going to be a competitive district. You got Pierce and Lake Highlands at the top. Richardson's always a playoff team. But right now I have Pierce there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Lake Highlands, they had the upset of the season probably in the
Right.
playoffs with over McKinney Boyd. So they'll be in the mix. Arlington Martin in District 8, I think they've won 7 straight district championships. They're on a long playoff win streak. District 9 again is anyone's game, the top 3, but I still have Saxe by a slim margin.
Mm-hmm.
Forney and Rockwall is a toss-up, but I got to give it to Rockwall. And then
Sure.
I actually have DeSoto in District 11.
Ah.
But with DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Waxahachie, that also could be a 3-team race.
Yeah, and Travis Ferguson over at Rockwell does such a good job. He lost his great setter Gabby to college, but he's always been one of those guys. He's always got players moving up and coming up. Hosts the Tournament of the Rock the first week of tournament play. That's always a great tournament. Brings in real good power teams from the state. So definitely keep an eye on Rockwell. I like Forney making that jump. I'm sure they're not thrilled, but like we said, Northwest in District 4 and now Forney in District 10. Always good to see the teams that make that transition.
Yeah, Rockwall always has a good tournament there. The first week, I think they had Prestonwood last season, among
Mm-hmm.
others. And then I just kind of learned the other day that Lovejoy will be there, defending 5A champs. They went to I think Hawaii last year in first week,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're actually going to Florida this year. So they're gonna actually go to Rockwall that first week instead of Hawaii, which I'd rather be in Hawaii, but.
No bias except the hat, but that's okay.